because it's difficult to see ourselves as being the cause.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's not an easy thing because, well, our culture teaches us right, to be right on top, to be number one, and all this others. It teaches us to be alphas.
Mm-hmm.
Tells us we must be alphas.
Mm-hmm.
And the world doesn't work that way. It's a give and take. It's always been a give and take. Always like that. There's a certain time when you're an alpha. There's a certain time when you're not. And the lesson here I would suggest that you could carry with you is that when you sense that,
Mm-hmm.
the first thing you do is you ask a question. If you can't figure out what it is on your own, you ask a question. If you can figure out on your own what it is, makes a difference, does not make a difference whose fault it is, just apologize.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You hear me apologizing all the time. It's because I don't want to offend people.
Mm-hmm.
And the easiest way to present that is to apologize, ingratiate them, make them feel good about themselves. And then, all that, whatever it is that was directed at you, just dissipates. Now, it doesn't happen all the time, but most of the time, that's what happens.
Mm-hmm.
We all like to feel appreciated,
Mm-hmm.
and that's all you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You are apologizing for whatever you may have done, even if you don't know it. And to them, they see it as you care about them enough to apologize. And that goes a long way with people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It goes a long way with people. So, what are your thoughts about all of this, Beth? You see how this is working together?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's really, well, it's kind of like building up or planning, helps to kind of plan ahead. This is what I can say instead. When somebody um, blows up just out of the blue, it's like instead of just leaving, firing back, it could be just to look very puzzled and say, "Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say something that offended you?" Or like you said, Philip, "Oh, did I do something to cause this?"
Exactly. You take the blame
Whether
away
or
from
not you
them.
agree, whether or not you agree, it's like taking the high road. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
it's like putting that as learning it as a possible option for a reaction. It's just a matter of like when you're in that situation, all my defenses go on alert, as I think most women's do, probably everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that gives me a more a chance to take back my power, even if I'm the only one who feels that way, even if I'm the only one who thinks I got to take back my power. Doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It's like if I want to take back my power, I can say this.
Well, the thing is, you're not taking back your power. It's not about taking back your power, it's reapplying your power.
Reapplying. That's a good way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of the things about Eastern philosophy, and one of the books I'm reading is The Ethics of Confucius. And it's hard to follow, but the main gist is that you try not to cause another to lose face. If you can do something to aid them to where they do not lose face, you gain their trust. And that's essentially the way that what it's all about is that's why I said you apologize. So you've defused the situation without either one of you losing face. Or a longer way of put it, without either one of you being embarrassed.
Mhm.
Because the one thing that will tick somebody off is if they feel embarrassed. And then they go in defensive mode.
Mhm.
It's like the boyfriend. Well, I'm going to go take a shower.
Mhm.
Essentially that is, you shouldn't even be here and I don't want to be around you. So I'm going to go over here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the easiest way to have treated that, or what you could do in the future is okay, hey, I'm sorry I came in here and barged in and such. It's, I know I shouldn't have. I'm here. Is it okay if I do this? So you're seeking his permission, and now he feels better about himself again because you just didn't push him off to the side. It's these little stupid things that, believe it or not, are very important.
Mhm. 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 Yeah, and he's done that to me many times where I mean, I don't know, come over for something, not that I walked in or anything, but just out of the blue, just comes over and says, you really need to do something about your hair. It looks awful. What the hell did I do? I didn't do, or another time, look at those shorts you're wearing, those clothes. I'm like, who does that? Who comes up to somebody and does that? That, and then acts like I was joking and it's your fault because you're too sensitive. I love that one. I
Well,
love
that's a typical gaslighting.
Oh yeah. And I'm like, but I guess I just feel like I would never do that to somebody. I would never. And if I went up to his mother and said something like that, she'd probably tell me to go F off. And my daughter doesn't say anything like, gee, maybe Tim, you crossed the line. That wasn't really very nice. A very nice thing to say to somebody. So, you're on your own. You're on your own. But I'm digressing anyway. But yeah, her house is an open door. Everybody walks in and out. Um, she never has her door locked or anything like that. Um, so and I had my hands full bringing the stuff in. So certainly I could have rung the doorbell. I never expected that reception. Never in a million years. So a lot to be learned from all of that. Absolutely. Yeah, a lot. Thank you. Oh,
And there are instances where you just play along with it.
yeah.
I had a gal tell me that, why do you wear those clothes? They look so old and worn. I said, well, it's because I like them. But just for you, I'll wear something else next time.
Hmm.
I mean, the most important thing to keep in mind is no matter what they do, you do not want to react in a way that's going to cause it to ignite.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if he's that way, and some people are that way, I've encountered them, you just go along with it. You don't want to take a defensive posture. Because if you take a defensive posture, then the whole event is going to be skewed. You won't enjoy your time with your daughter. You won't enjoy your time with the
Mhm.
grandkids.
Right.
So, you just have to.
Right.
And I'll tell you, it will not be easy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right.
But as you learn to adopt that approach, it will become easy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So what emanates from us, this is important. What emanates from us is how we interpret life and how we choose to experience life. That is very important. We may not know it, but how we view life, it just oozes out of us. You come along somebody or get around somebody and they just feel kind of slimy or something. It's because your outlook and their outlook are not meshing at all.
Mm-hmm.
And or what they're experiencing is having an effect on you. It doesn't make the other person a bad person. It's just the message there is that, you don't want to hang around this guy too much. You don't want to be around this person too much. And I pay attention to that. And I don't be around them too much.
Mm-hmm. And I don't. I don't.
Or I've learned to tolerate it because it's no different than a thunderstorm coming that just shows up and you're in the 4 or 5 blocks away from the house and you just drenched. What are you going to do? You can run, wear yourself out, risk slipping or tripping on something and making it even worse, or you can just, all right, and continue with your walk.
Mm-hmm.
You have options. That's the important thing to keep in mind. You have options, and your options are how you choose to react.
Mm-hmm.
And if your habitual reaction is troublesome, then you evaluate it, you play it in your head over and over again. See, this is a nice thing about playing things in your head. So long as you don't get obsessive about it, they allow you to practice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And because you've practiced in your head, when you actually come up against it, you won't react in that fashion, because what you experience outside of the head will not be like it is in your head. It'll be completely different.
Mm-hmm.
But you will have prepared yourself for potential responses. So it's okay to play things back and forth in your head, so long as you don't keep playing the same scene over and over and over again that feeds whatever is going on. The whole purpose of rehearsing it in your head and playing it over again is to look for solutions.
Mm-hmm.
So what emanates from us is how we interpret life and how we choose to experience life. Emotions are the cause of behavior, meaning that your behavior is the effect, the emotion you choose to experience through your evaluation of the event. Your behavior is the result of your emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not how you act that you want to control. You want to be mindful of the emotion that you're experiencing. And in Sandy's case, she had the choice of being offended, neutral, or whatever else. If you're not offended, accept it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, and those are just basic choices, 3 basic choices.
Mm-hmm.
And which one you choose is important. People don't realize this, but it's important.
Mm-hmm.
If your emotions rule you, you're going to have a problematic life experience. It's just that simple. If your intellect rules you, you still may have an unpleasant life experience because you're trying to rationalize everything. Well, why did they do that? No, that's not the reason. Why did they, become obsessive. In either case, you become obsessive.
Mhm.
You want to be somewhere in between. This is why I'm always talking about harmony, because it allows you to move back and forth without getting caught up in any of the extremes. So are you beginning to understand the role of cause and effect and how you can use this principle to your benefit?
Mhm.
Mhm.
So, Beth, what are your thoughts with this? Give me a
Oh,
summarization.
it helps talking about it because then it doesn't seem so circular.
Okay.
So I feel like I have a little bit better understanding, and it's something I can apply, hopefully, in the future,
Mhm. Mhm.
Good.
Mhm.
Good. And how about you, Sandy?
And I think so too. It gives you just exactly what Beth just said about giving you uh ammunition, not ammunition,
A
thought,
tool. It's another tool
a
in our
tool, yes,
toolbox.
a tool to, um to evaluate situations a little better. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Everything revolves around you.
Mm-hmm.
And what you have to be prepared, no, that's not the right word. What you have to consider are the influences of these other satellites as they come into your orbit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because not only does the sun have an effect on the planet Earth, but the planet Earth has an effect on the sun as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In each of the outlying planets, they all have an effect on each other. That's why it's called a solar system.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we are systems.
Mhm.
A community is a solar system. We just happen to have all these other satellites moving around us, friends, comets that just kind of blow through, acquaintances, and what have you. So we're in more control than we actually believe or see. So, and how about yourself, Sharon? Give me a nice summarization.
Well, obviously these lessons, these tools are something that we can do in all of our walks of life, just not just family, work situations, customers, all of that, where you're dealing with people, um, um, that kind of thing. So it's good. I think one of the hard things though, it can be when, like, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't even bring it up, but just as a small example or a small aside for like what Sandy's talking about, when you interact with somebody like him, this and he you learn pretty quickly what he's like pretty fast. So you have this conditioned response, and you expect, he's going to say something and you're going to feel bad, or you're going to feel not good about it, or something, you're going to be angry, and you're going to go home and you're going to be upset about it because nothing was resolved. So now you just carry this one on until the next one, and then you carry it on to the next one. And so in Sandy's defense, she's, and I it's not going to be easy, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's going to take some time to because you don't want to treat him like a human being. You just want to, you just want to slap him down. You're just annoyed with him. He's a pain in the ass, and you don't want to deal with him. So you just tolerate him while you're there, and then you go home, and so to be respectful, to try to be respectful, like you said, to apologize and say, I didn't, that's tough. That's tough. Because
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
you don't want to treat him like a human being. You just, like I said, you want to he's an asshole. So
I would just like to be neutral. I think
Exactly,
that's
yeah.
all I would like is neutral.
Yeah,
And honest to God, I mean, I know how he is because he's a recovering alcoholic, and he was the most obnoxious alcoholic I've ever seen. He cheated on my daughter, and then he got caught. And from that moment, he stopped drinking to win her back, which he did. And I give him a lot of credit, a huge amount of credit, because I have never seen anyone drink to the excess that this man drank and still be able to carry on anything in life is amazing. So I am very proud of his accomplishments, and I have told him that. Um, and so his obnoxiousness has toned way down, which is great, which is great. Very positive. I'm, wonderful. Um, this is someone my daughter has chosen. I have to respect that. And I do respect that because it doesn't matter what I think. If he's good to her and she's good to him and they get along and they're good together, that's all that matters. And I mean that sincerely. Um, um, so I guess my point is that um, I I truly did go into that evening with no thought, none of him doing anything to me. I thought it was going to be wonderful. So that's why I really was blown away when I got the get the hell out of here attitude. I really never expected it at all. And I didn't want to stay because I felt like if I did, I'd just be crying and then it'd make it worse. And I just had to leave. So anyway, I'm just saying you're right. I really hadn't thought about, just walking in. Everybody does. I mean, she never, sometimes I might knock, but I mean, nobody's even ever usually around. I just was bringing in the food because I had my hands, full of food. So yes, I was wrong. I should have probably rang the doorbell, but I didn't expect the reception I got. Let me put it that way. So it is a lot to take in about this situation, a lot to reflect on and reevaluate. So I'm glad I brought it up. It was a really hard day, but I'm glad I brought it up because I like to get the different perspectives on this. It's helpful.
Mhm.
So I appreciate it.
And I didn't mean to go into it again like,
Oh, no, I mean, that's okay, Sharon, but I know they don't know him. They don't know how he is. And,
Mm.
you know, he hasn't always treated my grandkids very well. So that's another, thing that bothers me. Um, um, but my daughter's an adult. I'm not telling her what to do. Listen, she's just turned 50. I told you. She doesn't need to be told what to do.
Mhm.
If she hasn't figured out how to handle her own life by now, I mean, I don't think then heaven help her. So anyway,
But I think just to just because, like I said before too, just because it isn't just people in your personal life, and those can be the hardest ones.
yes,
Strangers are easy because you can,
you're
and
detached. Yeah.
you can apologize and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that," or whatever. And most people are always really receptive of that, and they're nice, and oh no, that's okay, no problem, blah blah blah, and you
Mhm.
hunky dory, and you go on with life, and it's
Mhm.
all good.
Mhm.
Um,
Right, right,
No, it's harder. It's harder.
right. Yeah, it
So,
is. It is.
It's
Yeah.
tough. So anyway, good. I mean, this was a good, I think this was a
Very
productive,
good.
yeah, helpful
Mm-hmm.
part of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
Well, you can always approach, you know he's going to be an asshole.
Yeah.
You know he's going to be defensive with you.
Yeah.
So it's like, what can I do to reflect that? You go in and you just treat him like, oh, you are so funny.
Kill them with kindness.
I am waiting for you to go to design school. You can experiment on me.
You got to be careful
Yeah.
with, you have to be careful with that type of response, because you have to ask yourself, is that respecting this person?
Is it sincere?
Are you dismissing this person?
Mhm, mhm. Yeah,
Because if it's perceived that way, then you've just made the problem worse.
mhm.
Well, it's either get defensive or treat it with levity. Like it's like, oh, you're so funny, and go on to something else.
Mhm.
Let me share something with you. Now, this happened recently, fairly recently, at the church. Okay. Now, this was before anybody had showed up. I had opened it up. It was warm out. And this guy was visiting. I don't know if it was relatives or friends, but the house across the street with the fenced in backyard and a little
Mhm.
pooch that likes to yap. He was visiting there. And he came into the church, and he wanted to know what we were doing and everything. He was under the impression that we were a Christian church. And I explained to him, like I explained to everybody else, we practice the teachings of Jesus, but we don't do it in the same way. And so I said, we do message work. We communicate with spirits the same as Jesus did, the same as is in the Bible. And he said, well, okay, I don't want anything to do with that. And he said, can I hug you?
Oh.
Okay. Now that's a make or break situation there. If I refuse to hug him or to allow him to hug me, will it offend him and make things worse? Or if I let him hug me, will he be more respectful?
Mm.
Two outcomes with that. Which do you think would be the better?
Well, probably to let him hug you. My inclination would have been no, but in that split second, I would have also said, "Am I the bigger person? And am I gonna do I hug everyone because that's the right thing?" And I would probably go with it. But I would have. Did you? Did you hug him?
Well, let's get everybody else's input.
Oh
So
gosh.
how about you, Sharon?
I probably I wouldn't have wanted, the first thing I thought of was, why does he want to hug me?
Mhm.
That was the first thing I thought of, and that made me a little scared. But I probably would have hugged him, but it might have been like a side hug. It wouldn't necessarily been a full on, you know, maybe a little side hug or something. I don't know, but I probably would have gone with the hug just because if he's asking to do it, so there's a reason why he's asking. So, and I suspect the reason why he was asking, and I could be wrong about this, but I suspect the reason why he was asking is because he is probably a very fundamental person. Since he wasn't wanting any part of the other part of it, he's probably very fundamental, and a hug was probably like he was praying for you.
Yeah.
I kind of, that it was, I feel sorry for you, or I'm praying for you, or that's kind of where my head went with it. So,
Okay, how about you, Beth?
I probably would have said, sure.
okay.
Well, I'm not the hugging type, but he asked, and I said, sure. Now, if I had given him a side hug, that would have been dismissive.
Okay.
Now, after he hugged me, he said, good. I was wondering because if you hadn't hugged me, then that would have told me that something was wrong. But since you hugged me, you're cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you know what a hug says? You accept them.
Yeah. That's what I was just thinking.
It's like a handshake, but it's more personal. So by my allowing him to hug me, told him that I accept the way he is, I accept his beliefs, and I'm not offended by any of that. And he was accepting my beliefs.
Mhm.
So a good example, another one, cause and effect. And you don't always have an opportunity to make these decisions.
Mhm.
But if you've developed good habits, those habits will carry you through safely 9 times out of 10.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay.
all right. So let's take a break so everybody can stretch, use the restroom, do you see how these principles that we've isolated, do you see how they flow into each other?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
all intertwined.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.